welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing something very ultimate. I'm so excited. I promised you guys when I did my School for Little Vampires video essay, I would do this video to follow it up. And here we are. It is here. We are ranking every single episode from season 1 to season 4 of School for Little Vampires. So I'm really excited. I actually love ranking videos. I do them a lot in my head because I'm just that type of person.
Mandatory clarification time. 1. This video will be all my own personal opinions on the show and episodes. Feel free to share your thoughts on why you agree or disagree civilly in the comments below. 2. If you aren't familiar with the show, I highly recommend checking out my video essay on the show. Shameless plug, but it literally covers everything you could possibly need to know about it. So, that's actually all, I think.
So without further ado, let's introduce the tiers. So, top tier, we got the pink tier. I had to make it pink because, well. Peak episode, no notes. This episode, it's gonna take a lot to get up into this tier because usually with my tier list rankings, when I do them, I make it excruciatingly easy to get into the top tier because I'm just a nice person. However, I tried to make it harder for myself. In order to get to this tier, yes, it has to be a favorite of mine, but it also has to be objectively good to every viewer. Now, obviously, I can't speak for everyone. Everyone's opinions are different. But when I say this, I mean good for kids. Like, does the meaning and the moral of the story impact children? Is this a good thing to teach kids? Is this a good story? Do the characters get enough development? Does part A end up in part B? Like, do we have development at all? Does the episode progress at all? That's what we gotta consider to make it into the top tier. Second top tier is a favorite, but there's one thing. So this is where I can put all of my favorites that are good. However, maybe, like, the meaning of the episode isn't good. Maybe no lore actually got progressed here at all. Maybe we started the same way we ended. Also, peep the cursor. It's a bat! Isn't it so cute? Then we've got concept is good, but execution! This is for the episodes that I love the actual tropes or the, like, story of the episode. However, there's just something that makes it not as good. And I don't know how many episodes are gonna end up in this, but there's quite a few I want to talk about in this tier. It's not bad, just not good. These are just episodes that are, like, kind of meh. Like, they're just meh. They're mid, okay? Mid is the best way I can put it. Then boring/annoying. I know exactly which ones are going in this tier. Worst of the worst. I really don't think there's gonna be any episodes that make it into this, but I could be wrong.
Okay, let's go.
Dr. Ironfang.
Ah yes, episode 1, which I'm already somehow nostalgic for despite only starting watching the show last year. Anyways, this is a great introductory episode. Now, it's not introductory in the sense of, like, we learn how Oskar and Sunshine met, or Oskar being like, hey guys, my life's kind of crazy, here's how I got here. But there's a scene where we get introduced to, like, the tropes they fall under. Gothetta's has to do her potions, Leechy's has to do his inventions, etc. Dr. Ironfang is also genuinely intimidating, and his design reminds me of the Haunted Mansion ride, which is really cool. Is it peak? I mean, it's the first episode, right? And it has a good meaning, so I feel like we have to put it in peak. I'm gonna put it in peak. I don't know if that's too generous, but it's the first episode. It really sets the tone for the rest of the show, and the meaning behind the episode is really good as well. You know, Oskar was told not to overexert himself, and that's very important to remember.
Massive, isn't he?
I'd sing bigger.
Zoo Time is our first Alaric-based episode, which is a gem within itself because unfortunately we don't get many Alaric-focused episodes. But with that said, this is a fantastic episode overall in my opinion. Alaric is captured by some humans who want to make money off of him, so it's up to Oskar and Clot to use their skills they learned in class earlier in the episode to get him out. It's such a simple and fun plot, but I feel like it's super effective, and I think the moral of the episode is really good for kids. It's about not giving up and believing in yourself and trying to fight your limitations, which I think is just always super important. Oh yeah, and Lenny shows up in this episode, so I mean, I put it in the second top tier because I do think there are better Alaric episodes out there. There's nothing wrong with this one. I just feel like peak is a little too far, maybe.
Bring the garlic, and the vampires will cry. Bring the garlic, bring the garlic. and the vampires will come.
First things first, I love the scene where Polidori is just staring Oskar down so intimidatingly, like, oh my god, it's so funny. He's like, I know what you are. Overall, I think this episode is just tons of fun. I love that we get to see Polidori and Oskar's rivalry at its best, at its peak here, and it's just so genuinely hilarious. This whole first season just has such incredible episodes. There's not a single one I don't enjoy, and season 1 is just truly a treasure.
I'm here for my punishment.
Of course, season 1 stays on a roll because this episode is easily one of my favorites of all time out of the entire show. It's so hilarious, and it's the iconic birth of Alaric and Booty Shorts. This episode is all about the students and teachers swapping roles for a day, and there's just something so special and fun about being able to see the teachers have more of a personality outside of just being teachers. Literally every time I watch this episode, it's so much fun. Like, I could watch this a million times and never get sick of it. It's so funny, and it was honestly really hard to pick an intro scene because there are so many funny moments in this episode. And of course, Lenny is also in this episode, which...
Lunch break is over, Stoker, and this is no nugget. This is Fluffy.
Okay, this episode is super adorable. Basically, Oskar finds a cute little bird named Fluffy. It can say its own name for some reason. I don't know what that's about. And Stoker is determined to eat this poor little bird, which is all sorts of disgusting and disturbing, and this is where we really start to see how evil Stoker is. I hate this kid. But don't worry, the mama bird that's a little giant and dangerous gives Stoker what he truly deserves. I love to see him get what he deserves. Overall, it's a really cute episode. I do think the plot's a little predictable. If you've watched enough kids shows, you know where this is going. Oh, a cute little creature. Oh no, the mom is really big and scary. But overall, it's really cute, and I still enjoy it every time it comes on.
What is it about humans you find so fascinating?
It's hard to explain. They're so different, so wonderful. They're so full of...
Blood?
life.
Oh my god, they said it. That was the thing from the TikToks. Yeah, if you didn't know, on TikTok, this audio actually did pretty well, which is great because the show is so underrated. It deserved that. And it's actually the whole reason I watched the show. I found the show from this audio, which is just... But even putting my bias aside for the episode because of that, this is just a fantastic episode in my opinion. I also love that it's another Clot and Oskar focused episode. Their dynamic is so sibling coded, and I love it so much. It's so adorable. And the stakes in this episode feel pretty intense because, well, they could quite literally die and turn to ash. It's pretty morbid with all things considered. And I also appreciate that the plot is so unique to the show. Like, your usual cartoon talking animal would not be afraid to turn into ash, so I appreciate when the plot is really unique to the show. But I do have one small question. Where has Ashley been? Where's my goat Ashley? Where has he been in these episodes?
Oskar, you goof. What were you doing near that maniac's house anyway?
Oh, there he is! You know, Cape of Fear is a very interesting episode, you know? It has some moments for sure. But I can't help but feel like it's just another Polidori versus the vampires type episode. We have so many of those, and many of the others are more interesting and memorable at that. But like I said, it definitely does have some good and funny moments, and at least Ashley is more prevalent, and Polidori is always funny. It's just, I feel like we have so many of these types of episodes. This one is kind of pale in comparison to some of the other ones. Yeah, I also changed the tier name here because I just felt like mid sounded nicer. I don't know.
Come on, I'll bring you to bed.
Ah yes, Shadow Play, perhaps one of the best episodes of the entire show. I have a lot to say about it, so let's go. Now, I personally adored this episode because of my personal interpretation, so please hear me out for a second. So this is an Oskar-focused episode, and all of the students are learning about their shadow manipulation powers, and they do it with ease. But Oskar here, he's having a little bit of trouble. Oskar's shadow actually starts to manifest itself. He's not able to control it, and it starts going around causing havoc and doing things that Oskar would never do, but maybe he thought of before. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I think this episode could be a great allegory for intrusive thoughts. Alright, listen, hear me out. Oskar's shadow is going around causing mischief and doing things that maybe he thought of once, but didn't want to actually act upon. And the shadow is also tormenting Oskar on a lot of his insecurities and things he's embarrassed about. And overall, the episode concludes with Oskar having so much character development, learning how to control his shadow and understand and recognize there are parts of himself that he's embarrassed about and insecure about. and learning how to deal with that. Overall, it's just such a compelling episode altogether, and I think it personally has all of the things required to meet the peak episode criteria.
Let's disappear.
What? Hot cocoa?
Yeah. I mean, no. It's, pretty cold, actually.
Oh, I do hate cold cocoa.
Lenny and Ashley within the same scene, are you kidding me? So, looking back, I ranked this episode way too low for my liking. I simply put it in the good tier, but this episode is way more than good. It's great. It's your classic cartoony mystery investigation that turns out to be a misunderstanding trope, and it's just so much fun. I love that the show has so many diverse and unique character tropes and designs, so whenever we get an episode like this where there's a lot of characters at once, it's just so peak, and we even get to see the characters in new outfits, which is super cute. And you can't even blame them for the investigation because there was like drilling sounds. Ashley and Lenny show up in this a lot, which you know is peak. I honestly don't have any issues with this episode, so I don't know why I ranked it so low. I mean, good isn't the worst tier, but it's certainly not the tier that this belongs in. But I guess I'll go with past me's judgment. I think I forgot that this scene existed though.
More dangerous than any attacker might be.
This crossbow has been in the family for 20 generations.
Oh, another investigator episode? Right after the last? Well, alright. I do think the spacing of the episodes should be a little better because getting another mystery investigation after the last peak one, it's making the show feel more like School for Little Conspiracists. Okay, obviously I'm just kidding, but yeah, I do think it's a little odd that they paired these episodes so close together. Between the two, I do think I like the last one a bit more, but this one is just as enjoyable and it has some great moments in it as well. Though, why are we acting shocked that Stoker was the one behind it all? Like, even if he was under a spell, we all know he would do something like that even if he were completely conscious. Be so for real. Obviously, I love seeing Oskar be the main focus, and there were some really good moments in this, but being paired against the last really peak one, this one is just good. I think good is an appropriate tier for it.
Huh? What the heck? Hey! Hey, you! What's with the garlic?
We've got our first Stoker-focused episode, but guess what? This one is actually peak, believe it or not. This has got to be one of the funniest episodes in the show, if not the funniest, and I thank that all to the human characters, because the human characters in the show are on another level. They are just so odd and funny and random. You never know what they're gonna say, and the voice actors just had so much fun doing whatever the heck with them, and I literally was cracking up screen recording the scenes for this episode. Like, it's so hard to pick my favorite part because there's so many parts that make me crack up.
Plus, he was cheap.
Just keep him away from me, alright?
The plot of this episode is super fun too. Basically, Stoker wants to start a human movie, but there's a lot of problems with that. First of all, he's skipping school, and second of all, vampires can't be filmed. So if he's filmed, they're gonna figure out, oh wait, that's actually a real life vampire auditioning for a vampire. And it's so much fun. Polidori is acting really weirdly spaced out in this episode. I don't know what is going on with him, but it's absolutely hilarious.
I want the bloodsuckers are behind me. What?
Well, bring them on.
Some people say this job is boring.
Lenny-focused episode! Lenny-focused episode! So, yeah, if you couldn't tell by now somehow, Lenny is one of my favorite characters in the show, and maybe it's just my bias for him talking, but all of his episodes are peak. But this one is actually really great, putting my bias aside, because it's very lore-driven. In this episode, we find out a very important detail of information. Apparently, Lenny was not always a vampire. Unlike the rest of the cast who were born vampires, Lenny was bitten by a vampire and turned into one, which I think personally explains a lot as to why the cast mistreats him and looks down on him so much, even if they don't realize that they're doing it. I mean, of course, they also probably just think he's dumb, and he is a servant, so they look down on him for that too. Maybe they're being classist. But anyways, I do think that is another big reason as to why. Anyways, overall, it's a hilarious episode as well. We get a lot of funny Polidori moments.
Oh, you're even more cunning than I, my friend, though not quite as handsome.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the first episode where we see Bruno, which is a recurring human character that's just absolutely hilarious. I love this guy. So yeah, I'll put it in second top tier, okay? I'm sure my love for Lenny's making it a little higher than it probably should be, but it's a good episode and it has a lot of lore to it.
Nice throat you've got there.
Throat? A what?
I can hardly wait.
All right, come on in. What did he say about my throat?
Episode 13, my favorite number. That clip you just saw is my favorite part of this episode. The plot of this episode is super fun. The students unleash this ancient vampire from many years past from his coffin, and I love his design. His spider reminds me of Gothetta's spider, which I don't know if they were going for that, but that's what it reminds me of. And basically, one thing leads to another. They end up at Bruno's shop, which is where you saw that clip from, and it's like the last 10 minutes of the episode, and it's easily my favorite part of the episode. I just love seeing all the vampires interact with the humans. It's always like, what's gonna happen, you know? When I first watched this episode, I didn't really feel too strongly about it one way or another. I didn't feel super, like, hatred or love for it. I kind of was like, I could just skip this and nothing would happen, and honestly, still to this day, I have that mindset, like, if you skip this episode, you're not missing out on too much besides the funny jokes at the end, but overall, it's not a bad episode, and I really do enjoy it. I don't typically skip it because there are a lot of good moments in it still, and after rewatching it a couple of times, I've come to really appreciate it, but still, it's nothing to write home about.
If you don't mind.
If I don't mind, coffins are for vampires. Mud sleep in kennels. Woof woof, you werewimp.
Oh boy. Alright, this episode. Let's get into it. So, this episode displays why I hate Stoker so much perfectly, so if you're wondering why I keep insisting on hating on this young vampire boy so much, please go watch this episode for yourself, come back and let me know what you think of Stoker. If your opinion hasn't changed and you think I'm being too harsh on him, I'm starting to think your mindset isn't much different from his. Anyways, this entire episode is literally Stoker bullying this poor, innocent, timid werewolf boy. He is so adorable and sweet and kind, and he's literally trying to kill him. Like, in the end, he tries to kill him with Silver, which is just... He said that he wasn't acting like a quote-unquote real werewolf, whatever that means, and... to be honest, like a lot of other werewolf versus vampire plotlines, this has a very looming undertone of racism.
Hey, watch where you're going, wolf.
Which I don't know if that was intentional or not. However, I do think it's important to teach kids to not be, well, racist. But that's just my personal takeaway from it, and I think the actual moral is probably more along the lines of not to judge a book by its cover and not to judge people based on your perception of what you think they should be. The good thing, though, is all of the characters get karma in the end for treating the werewolf like this, so... you know, I feel like it's not fully my place to decide if this was well written or not with those undertones. However, I do think the point gets across. The way Stoker acts is not appropriate. Kids should not be treating other kids like that, and I think they do a pretty good job at clarifying that. So, yeah, this episode's definitely heavy to talk about, and honestly really sad to watch, and I would love to know you guys' thoughts on it as well.
No, get out of me! No, I won't! Leave me alone! Forget it! Ow! Shut up! Oh, no! Help! Help! No! Ow! Ah!
Finally, an Ashley-focused episode. Oh my god! Yeah, so I'm about to glaze the heck out of this episode, but listen, hear me out. It has lore. It is a lore-driven episode, okay? So, in this episode, we get a backstory on how Ashley turned into, well, ashes, because, well, I'm sure you've noticed by now, he's the only student that's not really looking like a vampire anymore. He got turned into ashes, and basically, in the beginning of the episode, he tells the story of he turned into ashes because he was being epic and fighting monsters, and he was the most bloodthirsty but fabulous vampire of all time. And although the fabulous part is true,
fighting monsters, not so much.
The true story is that he spent a little extra time getting ready for the dance with the ladies, because he's a chick magnet.
And man, and non-binary pal magnet.
He did the dance flawlessly, slayed the house down, but unfortunately that extra time he spent getting ready did cost him his everything. And now you're probably wondering, well, that doesn't sound so bad. He got all the ladies, he successfully won the dance competition. What gives? Why is that so embarrassing? Well, for us, we find that endearing, but he knows his class very well and knows that they're not going to see it that way. Vampires are very harsh with their rules and expectations.
Don't you miss having a body?
So there, I'm not just glazing it because it's an Ashley episode, it has some real substance to it. And yeah, it's also a body swap episode, which is always fun. I always love those types of episodes. And in this situation, it makes a lot of sense because, well, it's the school for vampires. Of course this can happen. I personally find it to be a peak episode, and I don't care who denies it. It's a good episode. I have not met anybody who doesn't like this episode. It's good. Oh, it's great. Okay.
Don't you miss having a body?
What are you doing here?
Food! I want food!
Oh yeah, this episode. You know, this episode is very interesting because it technically has like 3 different tropes in one. So firstly, it has the very headache-inducing rage bait trope of it's the character's birthday, but they think no one remembers. But all along, they had a secret birthday party planned, which this was actually not an annoying example of this trope at all. Usually when my favorite shows have this trope, I have to skip the episode entirely, but I can easily watch this one without any problem. My problem is more the second trope, which is this trope of turning into a monster and they're like gross and loud. I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable. I don't know why. I can't really put into words why. And then the final trope that they use, which is my favorite one in this episode, is the reference to Little Shop of Horrors within the title as well.
Does it have to be human?
So yeah, this one uses the trope of befriending a creature, everyone's warning him that it's not a good idea, he doesn't listen, and then ends up turning into the monster, so at least there is a reason for him turning into that thing. But overall, that is my favorite part of the episode, and otherwise, I'll admit, I do skip this episode usually. I mean, if I'm doing a full rewatch, it's not that bad, it's definitely not a bad episode, I'll still watch it, but it's not one I immediately go to, and it's definitely not one I would recommend to new fans, because it's just kind of, it's mid, I guess. I don't know.
You scoundrel! You dishonorable buffoon! You good-for-nothing! You conniving, sabotaging cutthroat!
Calm down.
Absolutely valid crash out, Oxblood. Anyways, this episode is so much fun, and sadly I feel like I ranked it way too low again. I mean, sure, I put it in the good tier, but in my opinion, this episode is more than just good. It's gotta be one of my favorites. But anyways, this is an Oxblood-focused episode, which is actually really rare, unfortunately, and poor Oxblood is being treated poorly by the students and teachers for being older and having a forgetful memory. What happened to respecting your elders, by the way? Like, in real life and in the show, people have completely forgotten about that. Anyways, the entire class acts very ageist towards him, saying that he's going to forget every lesson he knows one day, and just a lot of other horrible stuff. And to make matters worse, an old student that Oxblood used to teach has now grown to be a zesty butler who is now also ageist towards him, so he just has a bunch of problems today. The episode is overall so much fun, and although Vlad is an absolute he's also so iconic and funny in his own way, and I do think that it's funny that a Jessie episode has pretty much this exact same plot. If anybody has watched the episode where Bertram is replaced with that other fancier butler, let me know, because I feel like this episode is very similar to that one. Anyways, overall, I love this episode. It's so much fun to watch, and I enjoy it every single time. And do not take the fact that I called him zesty lightly. Vladimir is very zesty.
Cheating is a word you should delete immediately from your vocabulary, boy.
Knee-deep in icky soles, manicured fingernails caked in grave dirt.
Oh, my dear feeble old Oxy.
I win against them.
Okay, baby bladder.
Oh my god, this episode. Okay, this is absolutely by far one of my favorite episodes of the entire show, simply because Alaric was absolutely aura farming the entire episode, especially that last scene. Girl, absolute cinema, life-changing, brain chemistry altering. I really wish that they did more scenes of him like this. Imagine the show ending on a note like this. Oh my god, it's so peak. And literally all he does is hypnotize a woman and clip farm over the moon, but that's really all he needs to do to be an absolute icon, a legend. It's so life-changing. But other than Alaric absolutely clip farming and slaying, this episode also perfectly encapsulates everything I adore about the show. From the humor to the fact that Ashley actually shows up in it, Stoker and Oscar's silly but charming rivalry, and of course, we get a lot of scenes of Oscar and Sunshine together, which, up until this point, maybe this is a hot take, I feel like Sunshine was being very passive-aggressive towards Oscar, and I didn't love how she pressured him to do a lot of things he didn't want to do, but after this, we really start to see their relationship get to a very sweet and cute point. She's carving his name and initials into the sand, well, I guess snow in this case, and I absolutely love that. Though I will say she had an odd infatuation with wanting him to draw blood for some reason, even though I think any kid would be scared of that. maybe I'm wrong, because maybe it's just because I grew up being like Oskar, which I relate to Oskar heavy. Whether I was a child or now, the thought of getting my blood drawn makes me so queasy. Like, I really do become Oskar anytime I think about that. So yeah, I don't know. Comment below. Were you ever, like, wanting to get your blood drawn as a kid? Were you like Sunshine, or were you more like Oskar? Because I don't know. I feel like it's weird how she was so obsessed with wanting him to get his blood drawn. But other than that, I think they're really cute in this episode, and this is when their relationship starts to get really adorable. Now, I don't know what it is about this episode, and I'm curious if anybody else feels this way, but literally on the first watch, okay, I had never seen the show before this point. From the first watch to now, whenever I rewatch it, there's this strange wave of nostalgia when I watch this specific episode. Like, a lot of the earlier episodes I feel that way, but especially this one, and I can't explain why. I don't know if it's the music, the plot, whatever it is, something about it from the very first time I ever watched this episode, I just get this wave of nostalgia over me. Like, it just feels nostalgic. I don't know why. I don't know how to put it into words otherwise. It's very odd, and overall, I mean, technically this episode doesn't really have, like, a moral or big impact on the plot. You could probably skip this episode, however, you would be missing out on the aura farming of Alaric, and overall, I just feel like it is important to watch, but I guess that's why I didn't ultimately put it in peak, because there's no, like, overarching moral or story to it, but you know what, whatever, I'm a sucker for this episode. I love it. It means a lot to me. And can we please give a round of applause to the animators for making the end scene go into the outro? I mean, that's just, oh.
What kind of a place is this? Well, you call that service? No complimentary cocktails, and I'm sure there's no minibar.
Yep, that's right. Back in 2007, you could actually get away with putting hell in the title of an episode for a kids show, which I don't know if that's just a Germany thing or that was a 2000s thing, but isn't it kind of weird to think it came out literally the year I was born? Like, my birth year. These episodes were coming out while I was literally a newborn. That's so weird. But just in general, from the aesthetic of the show, and of course some of the jokes that they make, like stake yourself, it's clear that this show got away with a lot more things than you ever would be able to nowadays, especially with this episode specifically.
Aw, did you say bedchamber? You Europeans are so quaint.
And luckily I could safely say I don't think there were any jokes that aged badly, since it was still a kid's show at the end of the day. But, you know, there's just things like the word hell and just overall a lot of mentions of blood, death, violence, etc., that just would not be allowed nowadays at all in a kid's show. They're not even allowed to say, I don't know, gosh, anymore, really. And overall, I think that's ultimately why teens and young adults gravitate to the show so much, because the jokes don't really feel super childish. It doesn't feel like we're catering to toddlers or anything, and the plots are simple and easy for kids to understand, whilst not being boring and still being entertaining while educational. So, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of on the same tone as, like, Monster High or something. You know, every age can enjoy it for different reasons. But anyways, I feel like I kind of went off on a tangent. What about this episode specifically do I enjoy? Well, it's absolutely hilarious because the human character's here, so you already know it's gonna be funny. And like I said, I'm just surprised they got away with so many of these jokes in this episode. They're poking fun at Karens, of course, and overall just people who are not very respectful towards other cultures. She'd be the type of person to say, like, rap isn't real music, rap is garbage, and then go listen to Eminem or something like that. And overall, you know, this girl is a rage baiter, which is annoying, but she's really funny, and overall, it's just a really funny episode. Though I don't love perpetuating the stereotype that redheads are bad and evil and mean. I hate that stereotype, and it was very popular in the 2000s, so that's unfortunate, but otherwise, it's a great episode.
You're acting just like a scaredy cat human.
Maybe that's because that's exactly what I am.
Disgusting! No way I'm sticking my neck out for a human.
Yeah, Stoker just casually killed a man. I shouldn't be surprised, but I still can't believe he actually went that far. But anyways, this episode is loads of fun because it's the introduction of the Carnival, which is a location that we will be visiting quite often in the series, and don't quote me on this, maybe later on this will age really badly in the video, but I'm pretty sure that every episode the Carnival is in is peak, or at least very good. I don't think there's any mid episodes with the Carnival involved.
But anyways.
This episode in particular delves into a really fun and unique plotline to the show. The idea of the way we as humans impersonate vampires and technically stereotype them. You see, this guy's pretending to be a vampire for a circus show, doing the stereotypical accent and wearing the hair that
looks like my grandmother's boobies.
And overall, us as viewers have seen how real vampires act for over 20 episodes now, so we know that it's very exaggerated. So when the real vampires meet him, at first they're like, oh cool, a vampire who can perform for humans and not be scared and be in hiding. But eventually, of course, they figure it out. The mirror's fake, the props are, well, props, and he's a human, which leads to that point where Stoker actually tries to lead him to his death. But don't worry, Oskar was kind enough to save him. And what I appreciate most about this guy is that he's not actually a bad guy. Yes, he's scared of the vampires at first, and he is impersonating them. But after he gets saved by Oskar, he opens up his heart to the vampires and actually actively helps Oskar escape Polidori. Because if there's one thing that humans that pretend to be vampires and actual vampires can agree on and bond over, is that an awful vampire hunter will always be coming after you. Like, seriously, Polidori glazes himself as the best vampire hunter of all time, but he can't even tell the difference between a Party City wig and a real vampire. That's literally visiting your grandchild every day. But I guess I can give him one small credit that he was suspicious of Oskar at first. It took him a long time to warm up to him. The whole first season, really, but anyways, overall, I love this episode. It's so much fun, and it's very lore-driven, I feel like.
No one steals my candy!
Right off the bat, I just want to say this episode's plot is so unique to the show. I have literally never heard of anything like this. Yes, it's a scavenger hunt episode, but what makes it really unique and stand out compared to other scavenger hunt episodes is the reason why they're doing it. Basically, there's a lunar eclipse, so the students are tasked with finding the required items before the eclipse is over. Like, isn't that just so cool? And this episode is the birth of a dynamic duo that I wish we got to see more of in the show, Lychee and Oskar. Because Lychee is logical, always focused on research, can be a sassy diva or extremely nice from time to time. It just depends on how he's feeling. Meanwhile, Oscar's a sweetie pie who's always trying to see the good in people and look on the bright side of things, and he often sticks to the task at hand. They just complement each other so well, and I just love them so much. Lychee's like, no, we have time, I want to research the eclipse, and he's like, no, we don't have time, Lychee, and I really love that. And there's also this really wacky grandma that tries to kill them for not paying, even though they very much did, and she just didn't notice, which is cool and terrifying. And there's also this scene with Ashley sticking out his tongue. I just thought I would mention that because it looks funny. And unfortunately, this is another episode that overall I don't remember enjoying as much the first watch, but after rewatching it a couple of times, I absolutely love it and appreciate it so much now, and I regret ever thinking anything less of this episode. Wait a second!
Why is it in mid?
I don't remember putting it in mid, I remember putting it in good. Well, if it was up to me, I would put it in good, not mid.
You're a vampire!
Yes, my darling, and now I've come for...
Yeah, the voice acting's really rough in this one. So yeah, this episode's an absolute fever dream, and I guarantee if you ever tried to watch this episode while high, you would probably end up in the ER. I honestly feel like the pacing of this episode is a big reason as to why it feels so strange. There's a lot of things happening, like a lot, without any context or explanation. Like, at first, it's super easy to follow. Just, Oskar needs to go to the dentist. The dentist has a cool design, but it's also a horrifying menace. Common dentist stuff, right? Oskar starts getting his teeth checked, and the dentist uses some weird chemicals to get the job done properly. Simple enough, right? But after Oscar's horribly voice-acted fever dream sequence, I start to get really confused what the heck is happening. He starts getting worried that Sunshine won't accept him as a vampire from the fever dream. I get that part. But the way it unfolds is just so confusing. Like, I'm struggling to follow this episode for some reason. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who feels like this, but overall, this episode is very creepy, which they did a great job if that was what they were going for. And it also couldn't have been a better time to watch this for the first time because I literally had a dentist appointment in a week from that point when I first watched this episode, so the timing couldn't have been more impeccable. But overall, you know, it's a creepy episode, but I just can't get past how fever dream it feels, which they did a great job if that was what they were going for, but it's just a lot.
That is so disgusting.
Bombastic inside out.
This has to be my favorite episode regarding Sunshine and Oscar's relationship because throughout the series, they've had some charming moments, don't get me wrong, but never a full episode dedicated to just them being adorable together, and we finally got it. This episode is the one I could confidently say I ship them 100% together in. There's just something so romantic about the way Oskar keeps helping Sunshine out of danger, and the way they ride on the boat together. Oh, are you kidding me? This is the best scene of them together. And yeah, Polidori being there is a little distracting. However, he makes for some fantastic comedic relief, and technically he does actually have to be there because this episode not only develops Sunshine and Oscar's relationship, but also Polidori and Oscar's relationship. And what I mean by that is, after this point, there are a couple of episodes where he still accuses him of being a vampire, but much less, and it doesn't really come from the same point that it's been, where it's like, you're an evil, nasty vampire. It's more, are you a vampire? What you said just now was a little sus. So, I think this is really great that they actually kept that development. They didn't just make him regress back to, oh, you're a vampire. They actually make him start trusting Oskar after this point, and I think that's really cool. And in this episode, we really get to delve deeper into the love triangle of Gothetta, Sunshine, and Oskar. And yeah, if you didn't know that was a thing, now you know. It's only been in small doses up until this point, so I didn't really mention it until now. But yes, Gothetta does have a crush on Oskar, and I feel like this is such a tragic plot line because not only is she jealous of Sunshine for obviously the reasons that he has a crush on her, and her disgust for humans is just so strong. She's like, how in the world do you like a human and not me? And I don't know, her plotline is just really sad, and it adds a lot to her character, and these scenes just break my heart when she feels like the other woman. Overall, this episode has a very beautiful moonlit vibe to it, and it just made me really enjoy Sunshine and Oscar's relationship quite a lot, so I think this episode is an absolute gem.
Yeah, give it to them, Lady Cryptina. Yo!
Oh, Oskar, that was kind of giving Izuku Midoriya POVs, but I absolutely love you for it. His heart really meant well.
Slay!
This is a Lady Cryptina focused episode, which is pretty much as rare as finding the matching sock lost in the laundry. It's not impossible to find, but definitely very, very difficult. I personally feel like Lady Cryptina is a very mysterious character. There's so much about her we just never find out, and I don't know if they ever planned to dive more into her character, but I just feel like she has so much potential, and it was never fully utilized to the full extent it could have been. We definitely see glimpses of her being a great mentor, teacher, and overall a baddie, and that's why I guess I want more doses than just small doses. I want more! But anyways, I digress. This episode is all about Gothetta's little idolization that she has for Cryptina, since Cryptina is the only other woman in the school. For some reason. Gothetta wants to follow her to the graveyard, and let's just say it's a little too intense for a little vampire, and we'll just leave it at that. So overall, it's super fun, cute, and we finally get to see Cryptina show up for more than just a few seconds, so it's a really good episode. I also love that the kids just actually genuinely act like kids in the show. Like, Gothetta and Oskar are whining about how they're not allowed to go somewhere because the teacher said so, and that's just how kids act, you know? Obviously, it's a little annoying because it's like, as an adult watching this, I'm like, well, guys, it's for a good reason. It's dangerous. But when you're a kid, you don't really care about that. You want to do exactly what the adults are doing, especially if they're your role model like Cryptina is for Gothetta. So I just wanted to mention that. I love that they actually make them act like kids in the show. It's just great.
Oskar, wake up!
Look at Clot's little face, it's so adorable. You know, I'm really upset that I forgot about the existence of this episode because it's got all the right ingredients to make it peak. We've got characters from Alaric to Cryptina to Ashley and even Lenny, so that already gives it extra points for me personally. But also, it has an A and B plot, which I didn't even realize up until this point. That's actually kind of rare for season 1 to have, so that's really cool. We also get to see Stoker getting the karma he deserves at the end.
Open your teeth wide, Stoker. Yes, that's delicious.
But by far my favorite part of the episode is the part where this awesome band plays the theme song of the show. Like, that's so cool. I'm mad though because that means there's an extended version of the theme song somewhere out there. It's just probably lost media. Somebody go find it, please. I'm begging you. And we even get background characters that have such peak designs that you wish they had a whole dang fleshed out backstory and a spin-off dedicated to them, and that's just gonna get worse in season 2. Anyways, the main plot of this episode is Oskar being sick, which he's just so adorable when he's sick for some reason. And oh yeah, Polidori is also here, trying to be a vampire hunter as usual. But wait, what is this? He's actually really smart this episode. He actually attacks the vampire castle directly. So yeah, that's a rare W for Polidori as well. What is in this episode? What happened? Who wrote this? So honestly, in my opinion, this episode has everything it needs to be considered peak, including a great moral as well, because the whole episode is about actually resting and taking your time and not going outside while you're sick, which is obviously very important, and some adults need to take that advice. Anyways, oh yeah, did I also mention that Ashley and Lenny are in this episode?
Come on, Oskar boy, show them that you're a horrificos. Sorry.
On your marks.
This is it, guys. We are officially on the last episode of season 1, and even if I put a few episodes in mid, I would not skip those for the world. This entire season has been peak in my heart, even if they didn't make it to the peak tier necessarily. I love every single episode in this season, and they just did such a good job making such a good show for kids. Like, oh my god, I love this show. Anyways, this episode is probably the best season finale they could have possibly cooked up, because not only is it so funny and entertaining, but the animation is even more improved than before. Like, you can just see throughout the series how their animation gets better and better, and it's really foreshadowing of how peak season 2 is gonna be, because I love season 2, but we'll get there once we get there. Anyways, Lenny and booty shorts. I thought I would mention that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like no one has ever touched the surface of what the heck kind of sports vampires would play. So when I found out that this was an episode where the vampires host their own little Olympics, girl, I was so excited, and I don't even like sports. I just think it's so creative, the sports that they came up with, stuff involved with coffins, bats, etc., etc. It's brilliant. Like, you have to be an actual creative genius to come up with these things. Okay, maybe I'm glazing it a bit too hard. But listen, I just love creativity like that. I will watch the actual Olympics every once in a while for certain sports, but I personally, myself, don't participate in sports. So if I enjoy a sports-themed episode, you know it's a good episode.
He needs some milk.
I also love that they actually tried to include every character they could. My man Ashley is an announcer. Like, yes, this is what the fans want to see, all right? In my opinion, it's got everything we needed for a good season finale. And with that said, season 1 is officially done being ranked. We have ranked all 26 episodes in season 1. Here's how we're feeling. This is where we're at so far on the tier list. Feeling good, guys? I'm feeling good about it. Do I feel bad for putting episodes in mid? Of course I do, but it's alright. I mean, I suppose they're in there for a reason. So, with that said, it's on to my favorite season, season 2! It's so much fun to still be Guys, this video is already an hour long, and we're not even halfway through the series. How long is this video gonna be, like 3 hours? Well, I hope you guys are doing well so far. Let's take a moment to breathe. Make sure you're getting snacks. Make sure you're taking your time. Are you drawing? Or are you doing laundry? Whatever you're doing great. It looks great. You look wonderful. Everything's great. Let's get into season 2.
Thank you, Lenny. Now, if you wouldn't mind...
That scene I just showed you is indeed the first scene of the second season, which means Lenny got to be the season opener!
Let's go.
I have so much to say about this first episode, and before we get into why I love it, let's gently discuss the small cons that I have. But don't freak out, these cons do not have anything to do with the actual episode itself, besides one. But most of them are actually about the dub of the show, which obviously doesn't correlate with the actual original show because it was originally in German. You see, the dub has always been a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, give it to them, Lady Kryptina.
And trust me, it definitely got better as season 1 went on and they got more used to their voices, but it's season 2, especially these first few episodes, it is a completely different experience and not in a good way. Firstly, a lot of the characters' voices were swapped or replaced, first, which in season 1, Sunshine and Stoker's voices kept changing. I think they were like experimenting with it. Maybe they like recorded the episodes out of order or something. I'm not sure, but Oskar definitely suffers the most from the voice change. Now, yes, now he sounds more his age. He doesn't sound like a grown man, but now
I have to do something. He's Sunshine's grandpa after all.
But I don't want to dwell on the dub too much because I already talked about it a lot in my essay video, so if you haven't checked that out, please go check it out and hear all of my thoughts. But yeah, season 2, especially the first few episodes, was really rough dub-wise. However, that has nothing to do with the actual original show, besides one criticism I have. But let's talk about everything I love about this episode first. I personally think this is a great season opener. We see the large cast of characters, which you already know I love. I love seeing all of their dynamics and relationships with each other. It's a fun, icy, winter-themed episode, which this is now the second one, and it's always fun to see, especially considering we don't know how vampires handle certain stuff that us humans also go through. I also really do find the idea of putting Polidori and Cryptina together really fascinating. I don't ship them, despite whatever my past self said about it, which I'm just confused where that even came from. Apparently I said it was a peak ship, even though I don't know where that came from. I don't ship that. But I do think it's a cool way to see a side of Polidori we've never seen before, a softer and more hopeless romantic vibe. But that's also where my criticism comes from, and it's not from the fact that he's in love with her. That's great. I think that they actually should have done way more with that. I feel like when I was watching the episode, it was very rushed. Like, it went from him being in love and pining for her to immediately finding out she's a vampire and she lied to him. And I know it's a kid's show, but imagine the potential it had to have a more emotional reveal. Polidori could have been actually genuinely upset about this reveal and make him reconsider what he once thought about vampires, but ultimately decide that he still wants to get rid of them. She did lie to him, after all, proving vampires are just as bad as he thought. Or something. But please do not be fooled. I love this episode and find it to be a fantastic opener for this season that's just so peak. We start at 100 and end at 1,000. It's so good. And I think the plot is really unique to the show because, well, it puts Oskar in a unique pickle because he likes Sunshine, but not her grandpa. But he doesn't want her grandpa to be hurt, because then that would mean Sunshine's upset. But Cryptina's his teacher, so it's just a really awkward situation, you know?
I'm not that greedy. Whoops,
A vampire! You're a vampire!
Alright, this episode is so fun. Does it make any sense? No, I don't really love this doppelganger thing. I'm fine with the child prodigy doctor thing, but I just think it's a little too far when he literally sounds exactly like Stoker. Like, at least make him sound different from him, even if he looks like him. But anyways, other than that, I love this episode, and there are so many moments I just crack up to every time. I do have to say the voice change for Stoker is so much better. I feel like his accent was just missing. Like, he needed that accent.
that you reacted so fast, nurse. That wacko nearly had me. Vampires.
But again, why with the doppelganger does he have to sound just like Stoker? I don't get this. By far my favorite part of the episode, though, has to be the part where Oskar delivers Sunshine a rose. I just think it's so romantic and beautiful. Like, I can't tell you how many times as a kid I wanted a vampire to come in my room and give me a rose. And still now to this day. But anyways, the point is, it's really pretty and cute and I love it.
The big hero can't even bring himself to touch the blood bag.
Kill that boy! Kill that!
Have I introduced you to Hector the Protector? He's my law and order enforcer.
Get away from that bulldog and give him to me.
Sorry guys. Oh yeah, exactly what I wanted and needed. Another Stoker-focused episode. But to be fair, the thing that makes this episode stand out against the others is at least the students are realizing how annoying Stoker is, because don't get me wrong, Oskar always calls him out on his bull, but everybody else kind of just lets him do whatever he wants, and I'm happy that for once everybody's detesting against this, because it gets to a point, bro, you're literally making paintings of yourself, you're making all these taxes and rules, you give this guy a megaphone and he thinks he rules the world. We need to look out for this guy when he gets older. I mean, the episode is called The Little Dictator, and in some countries the title of the episode had to be changed.
Holy smokes!
And the saving grace of this episode is that not only is it funny, of course, but also has a lot of the teachers in it, which I just love getting to see the teachers more, and this season definitely shows them a lot. maybe that's why I love this season so much. But to be fair, season 2 definitely has way better episodes out there. I kind of feel bad putting it in annoying, but I mean, what else would this episode be considered? It's not a favorite of mine, and it is technically a good episode, but I don't know. I just think there's better ones.
Oskar, Maxine, come back!
Kill a vampire?
Don't you
Why the flip is that child making lamb sounds? I'm shaking my boots. I'm terrified. What is going on? Oh my god, this episode. See, this is where season 2 just starts getting even more peak, if it wasn't already. A Halloween episode. Now, technically, this whole show is Halloweeny, but this is like a specific episode where it is Halloween. We see the characters dressing in Halloween costumes. For some reason, there's this kid dressing as a lamb making lamb sounds. I think she took this costume way too seriously. Anyways, most importantly, it introduces a new character named Maxine. Oh my mother, I love Maxine so much. Like, I wish she showed up in more episodes, and I also wish that the dub didn't do her dirty. Now, it's certainly not the worst, but...
Cheap girl, just leave sunshine to me.
Perhaps it's just the performance that's making me not like the voice. I don't know, I guess I was expecting something deeper. Please, comment down below. You look at this character and tell me, what voice do you think she would have? Which, speaking of, I really want to do a video on the voice actors, comparing the German one and the English one, and also giving my Dreamcast. Anyways, back to the episode. I love this episode, and it's so fun, and this is the start of Polidori and Oscar's alliance, which is just so peak. I love their dynamic together. So, what happens in this episode? Basically, Maxine here is actually Sunshine's babysitter, and yep, she's a vampire. This is a reference to...
The babysitter's a vampire!
Actually, apparently not, because that came out in 2010, and this came out in 2007, so... I guess they predicted that show's existence. I think this episode is super fun. Obviously, I'm a sucker for it because it's Halloween themed, and I just love seeing Polidori and Oskar get along. Please, Oskar, for the love of God, do not slick back your hair like this ever again. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just really do not like this. But yeah, overall, it's just a really fun episode, and I feel like you're always at the edge of your seat when you watch this, because you're like, oh my god, we're so close. Everyone's so close to figuring out someone's a vampire. And like, again, it puts Oskar in a unique position, because it's like, I'm also low-key a vampire, but she's more of an evil vampire that doesn't care about being caught as a vampire. You know, it's really fun. You gotta watch the episode to know. And we need to give Oskar more credit for dressing up as a vampire, because that way people would not suspect him to be a vampire. If he dressed up as a vampire, why would he give his identity away like that? At least that's what they think.
Oh, for Dracula's sake, Oskar, don't be so sensitive.
That's not me.
Ashley focus episode. But unfortunately, he's not very happy in this one. It's springtime, so you know what that means.
Love is in the air.
And you know, it's not really vampires' thing usually, unless you're Oskar, Lychee, or our man Ashley. Now, Oskar has something to celebrate here because apparently, according to Gothetta, he officially is dating Sunshine now. They're girlfriend-boyfriend, so congrats, woo! And Lychee, well, don't worry, baby girl, your girl will be coming very soon. Well, not very soon, but in the future. Anyways, Ashley is feeling down the dumps because he realized who will even want to fall in love with an ash pile? I mean, what are really the chances of that?
I don't have a girlfriend either, and I never will. I want a girlfriend who will cuddle me and like me, for who I am, not what I am.
If you show this clip to me on a really rough day, I'm definitely gonna shed a tear or two. Maybe even a couple if you're lucky. This scene just makes me feel so bad for him. Like, how could you not feel bad for this guy? And I think to make things worse is the fact that real life people actually do feel like this. I feel like you could technically consider Ashley disabled because he can't walk and doesn't have limbs. And the way that they treat him surely feels like ableism sometimes.
That bull seeks similar pile. Hobby sitting, and sitting.
Oh great, let's add ableism to the list of crimes. So we got racism, ableism, classism. What's next? What is next?
So, you disgust me.
Go!
I mean, think about it. He went from being completely able-bodied to losing all of his limbs and having limitations to what he can do. I feel like that fits the criteria pretty well, but regardless, I feel like this can also just resonate with anyone, period. Some people just feel like they're not able to be loved, like no one's ever going to love them for who they are, and that feeling can be so suffocating and sad, and I think it's a really bold but important thing to include in a kids show, because not all romance is just easy love at first sight. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries, and they eventually find someone by doing a little Tinder matchup type thing, and find another ash pile out in the world, and although in the episode they have a great time, we never see her again after this, so I'm guessing it didn't really work out, which just makes me feel so bad. Like, can Ashley have one win for once? Why are you guys always stripping him of his happiness? But overall, of course, I love this episode because it is an Ashley episode. Do I love that every Ashley episode is him being in pain or sad? No, but at least we have an Ashley-focused episode, I suppose. Yeah, so that happened. Oh yeah, and we also get an explanation on why Stoker acts the way he does, or at least a hint as to why. You see, he gets this card mailed to him from his mom, but turns out he just wrote it to himself. He didn't actually get anything from his mom, and apparently this is a common occurrence that his parents don't write anything to him, which, you know, it's starting to make sense. Neglectful parents, maybe abusive, maybe that's why he's so violent. He's hearing that from his parents. I mean, they did send him off to a boarding school after all. So, I guess I can give you a little grace for that, but only a bit, because there's no excuse for racism or ableism, Stoker.
When I'm finished with you, Oskar, you won't even have the shoes on your feet.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah, this episode has a lot of out-of-context moments, which makes it hilarious, but also crazy, because what do you mean Stoker's literally a gambler? Like, just add on to the list of crimes, why don't you? I love this episode because this is my favorite trio. I love Stoker, Oskar, and Lychee all together. No, I don't enjoy Stoker on his own, but when he's with Lychee, it's a lot more tolerable, and sometimes I like him and Oskar, sometimes they can just be super annoying, and it makes me not even like Oskar sometimes. But with Lychee and him, I feel like Lychee really keeps him in check, which is nice. And don't flame me, guys, but I totally low-key shipped Stoker and Lychee together. Okay, this episode is what sparked my brilliant idea that I could, and then season 4 just fed my delusions, so please stay tuned for when I talk about that. But please tell me I'm not the only one that ships them. Like, I just feel like there's so much potential here. We've got Stoker being annoying, and then Lychee calling him out on it, but also tolerating his shenanigans and helping him out. I mean, I just love them. I love them so much. And yeah, I mean, it's another episode where Palidori's trying to get them, but at least it's done uniquely. We really appreciate that, since we're just kind of getting the same thing over and over again, but in different fonts. So I really do appreciate that. And yeah, there's not much else to say about the episode. I really enjoy it. Why does this whistling sound like that? I love it. I was gonna make a really dirty joke about the title of this episode with Lenny, but I don't think I can do that. My parents watch my videos. Lenny episode! Yes, there's a lot of Lenny episodes in season 2. Is it making sense why it's my favorite now? Yeah, probably. Anyways, so this episode is so much fun. Like, I remember while I was watching it for the first time, I was just sitting there like, dude, this is so fun. Like, this episode is enjoyable. I'm having fun. Like, I'm a part of the adventure. And again, the stakes in this episode are really intense because you're like, I genuinely don't know if they're gonna make it out of here alive. I mean, of course they will, but how are we gonna get out of this situation? And I love episodes that just make you question,
how are they gonna get out of this one? Like, seriously.
So, what is the plot? Well, Lenny has been acting sus, so the students try to figure out what's going on. Turns out, he's just been feeding and taking care of a sea monster, an adorable pink one at that. She's so cute, I love her. But turns out, they have to protect her because, guess who? Palidori wants to hunt her. Yeah, not only does he hunt vampires, but apparently, he's also a Loch Ness monster chaser now.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna row home.
See, this is what I mean by the voice acting in season 2. Why is she not more terrified? She sounds so like, oh no, I'm gonna go now. While she's literally supposed to be horrified that a sea monster came out of the ocean. Like, where's your emotion? So, I just looked up the German dub to see what the original was like, and it's still not as scared as I expected it to sound, but certainly way more scared than the English dub, so I guess she didn't do that bad, but Still, I feel like for this scene and considering what's happening, Sunshine should be a lot more frightened no matter what. But like I said, the German dub, she's a little more scared, so that's good. But overall, I love this episode, and I feel like I say that with every episode I rank. But it's true, I love the show, man.
If Walpurg gets back inside, his power could destroy us all.
This episode is truly the peakest of peak, and a huge reason as to why season 2 is just the best season in my opinion. Now, at first, I was struggling to figure out where to put this because I was like, yes, the lore is peak, but I'm scared of Walpurg. And then I realized that makes it even more peak because a good villain should make you feel scared and uncomfortable, and just within this guy's design alone, you can infer how evil he is. He's green, a color that none of the other vampires ever have as their skin tone, and he has this wide, menacing smile paired with his small little eye pupils, his red outfit, and overall his voice is also really good, and you know that's really rare for this dub.
The castle will be mine once more.
This guy is like if you mix Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame with Ganondorf, and that is a deadly combo, but I think an appropriate one to compare him to. Obviously, it's a kid's show, so he's not that devious, but we also don't know what actions he's done. But for me personally, what scares me about him most is not his green skin, it's not his voice, it's not even his menacing stares. No, the thing that scares me the most about this guy is how up close and personal he gets with these people. There is nothing, at least in my opinion, that can scare me about a villain more than when they get up close and touch you without consent, and they really just invade your personal bubble. Like, that is annoying on a daily basis, but if it's a villain that is disgusting and scary and wants to kill you, that's just even worse. So, yeah, for me, I think, especially considering these are kids we're talking about,
Bro is literally about to poke him in the face with his nose. That's how close he is.
That's just not good. It reminds me of Silco a lot, which makes me uncomfortable how close he gets. And yes, that was just an excuse to sneak in a little reference to Arcane because I just started watching it in its peak, okay? And even if you cast him aside, the episode is still peak no matter what because we also get a bunch of lore about the castle itself and how even though he's not in there actively, he is still haunting the walls. Like, that goes so hard. That's so scary. And I don't know, it has such a cool vibe to it. I feel like the writing in this episode really stood out. I think it really proved that this show is mostly episodic, but can have some bangers mixed in. And this whole season really feels more like bangers than anything, because even the episodic stuff, we're getting a lot of lore and information about the characters, or straight up just development. And I love, love, love to see that. So, with that said, I really love this episode, and at first I wasn't sure where to rank it because of my fear for him, but that's what made me ultimately realize, wait a second, that's what makes it peak. If I'm scared of the villain, that means they did a good job.
I'm sentenced to life imprisonment.
If someone was new to the show and I was trying to find a good episode to introduce them to it, I would definitely choose this as one of the top votes because not only does it have a lot of lore, it's very interesting, but it also really depicts all of the good tropes of the characters well. Stoker's fascinated by Walpurg, of course, and Oscar's trying to work as hard as he can to save Sunshine. And if you watch this show in chronological order, you just feel a different vibe with this episode. Like, it just feels like a whole different show almost. There's just a different tone to it.
He was in Vampire Variety last week. I mean, don't they teach you anything useful in this place?
Lenny episode. Oh, Lenny stands. We are eating good in season 2. Now, to be fair, he is sad in this one, so that takes a little bit off. But either way, regardless, it is still a peak episode. Now, in my opinion, this episode is very similar to the Feed Me episode from season 1. However, done way better. The pacing is way better. It's not all over the place. And what I mean by that is it's kind of similar where a character is sad and then they think everybody's ignoring them, but it's a misunderstanding type thing. Let me just show you the clip so I can explain it easier to you.
Lenny is getting worse and worse, and it's time to do something about him.
Here, give it to Papyrus Al Vamposty. That's the quickest. And hurry!
And you know what? I cannot even blame Lenny for thinking he was being fired, because why were they talking about it in this way? So basically what they were actually doing was hiring an entertainer or a clown to cheer Lenny up, which I feel like Lenny doesn't even seem like the type of guy to like clowns in the first place. And obviously they're kids, so they won't understand this, but I think we all need to acknowledge the fact that Lenny is sad because of the way that not only the students treat him, but also his co-workers and his boss. Like, don't get me wrong, I love all of the characters, I love Alaric to death, but we have to also not ignore the glaring issue of them calling him lazy. His food is garbage. He never knows what's going on. He's dumb. I mean, I could just continue on, but I don't want those words to be in my mouth towards him, okay? Lenny is my goat, and obviously, I'm a Lenny defender, so I'm a little more passionate about this than anybody else would be, but I just don't think it's fair to treat this man because, he got bit and turned into a vampire, or whatever reason they treat him so badly. That's the reason. That's the root. And I don't think a clown is gonna fix that. Georgie. So obviously, after hearing this, and Lenny was already depressed in the start, that just made him feel even worse. And he was like, you know what? Since they're firing me, I'm just gonna pack up my things and leave. And Polidori receives the note that was supposed to be towards the clown. And basically, he's like, oh, this is my perfect opportunity to sneak into the castle, which is honestly a brilliant plan and also so evil of him. Like, what do you mean he stole a note that was meant for somebody else? And he was like, perfect chance to pretend to be this person and take their identity and become a clown and infiltrate the castle. Like, not only is that a great plan, but also such an evil plan from him. Haters of Lenny may say that his decision to not ask any questions and just immediately assume he's being fired to be ludicrous or unprofessional, whatever word you want to use. But honestly, from the way that they've been treating him this whole time, is it really that far-fetched? I mean, it's honestly just the straw that broke the camel's back. He probably wanted to leave way sooner than this, and this was just his excuse, because these people, like, when I say they're mean to him, they're
mean to him. They're, like,
horrible to him. And actually, misunderstanding episodes, like that trope as a whole, is very hit or miss for me. In the majority of episodes I've seen like this, I don't usually like it, but in this show, it didn't annoy me, and if anything, it gave me a reason to love Lenny even more, because him crying is genuinely heartbreaking. I hate this.
Papyrus, what happened to you?
Oh, you mean this?
This episode, I love this episode. Okay, so this is the introduction of Papyrus. No, not that one. But that one's also peak. This Papyrus. Now, technically we did see him in Spring Feelings, but we didn't really know much about him, and we weren't sure if he was just a one-off character or not. But nope, he is a regular character we'll be seeing reoccurring throughout the series now. He's essentially the mailman for all the vampires, and I don't know what it is about this character, but I have such a weird attachment to him. Like, he genuinely feels like he's one of my ancestors. Like, he's one of my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers or something. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling so attached to him. Maybe he reminds me of someone I relate to. I don't know, but either way, we need to protect him at all costs, because this legend, he literally burned himself to a crisp. He has a hole in his body, okay? We're talking literally a hole straight through his body. You can put your hand right through it, just so he could deliver Oskar to Alaric. Like, is that not just the most goated thing ever? This man's a legend, which I just love that bit of lore they casually dropped on us in this episode that we probably initially thought was just another episodic thing. No, turns out, boom! Oskar was delivered by this guy. This guy risked his life for him. There's so much lore here, and that's why it's such a peak episode. I absolutely adore this episode. It is so much fun, and it's one of those episodes, like, you have to watch it, okay? I don't want to spoil everything that happens in it because it's just that exciting, but all you need to know is it's an Oskar-focused episode. We meet this awesome mailman, and I love it so much. Oh yeah, I did forget this episode has a weird comedic change at the end where they're, like, with this inflatable cow. It's kind of weird, but definitely not nearly as weird as what we're about to talk about, so I'm gonna let it slide. Okay, here we go. What makes me really sad about this episode is that it's not at all fully terrible. Like, there was so much potential here. We started off so strong. We saw Alaric with his badass pet bird. I love this. Like, this is so cool. And I love the concept of the students being home alone and having to learn how to cook on their own. Let them cook, let them cook. And Lenny's here. Everything was so good. It was going so well. It's a lychee episode. I mean, what really could go wrong with a lychee episode? Oh, you feeble-minded imbecile. Everything can go wrong. So, basically, lychee is cooking. We should not have let him cook. And the ingredients turned him into this giant monster thing. And I can't really explain to you why this episode makes me feel so uncomfortable. It just does. Actually, no, I lied to you guys. I do know why it makes me uncomfortable, and I'm sorry. Apology video coming soon for lying to you. It's just, I need to explain this very carefully, alright? So just walk with me. Now, first of all, do not twist my words when I say this. It's not this trope, okay? It is not this trope. It just reminds me of this trope. It's just eerily similar. There is this trope in kids shows where it's like the inflating body gag, and usually this is completely used as a joke. Just a funny, silly haha, maybe there's a balloon or something, okay? But unfortunately, those fan arts have made me see this gag not even to be funny at all. So every time I see it in a kids show, I just get a little scared. And I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone. Not everyone that does this trope, it's for that reason. But shows like Totally Spies, it actually was for that reason. So I think maybe that's why this giant creature thing that's burping and acting disgusting is just making me uncomfortable. And again, I'm not saying that's what this is. It's not. He's not being inflated. He's turning into a monster. I get that, okay? It just reminds me of it, and I think that's why it makes me uncomfortable. Alright? Oh yeah, and Oskar also read a book with the actually meme on it. I just thought I'd mention that. So, with that said, we're just gonna pretend that the episode ended at this part, and nothing ever happened after that. It was just a really short episode. Pretty good episode, yeah. Hopefully I'll never have to talk about this again.
Let's move on, please.
Hey, what's going on here?
Happy birthday, dear Lenny. Happy birthday to you.
Dear Lenny, for nearly 2 centuries, you have been our faithful school servant.
Wasn't that just the cutest thing you've ever seen? And hearing Alaric sing happy birthday is so funny. Anyways, we won! We won! Our prayers have been answered. We got a Lenny episode, and he's happy in it.
My Shayla!
And no, once again, I'm not just saying this is a peak episode because Lenny's in it. It has lore! Say it with me. Lore! So, what makes this episode so peak is it finally shows the full retelling of Lenny's backstory, because we have already established that he wasn't born a vampire and instead bit, but we never really got into how that occurred. How did we end up here? How did we get to this situation? And y'all already know, I am a backstory girl.
Down!
And you know what? I just realized something. All of my favorite characters got backstory episodes. Ashley, Lenny, and Alaric, they all got backstory episodes, and they're all my faves. The writers love me, okay? And you know what? I think this is an appropriate time to talk about why I love Lenny so much anyway, because I'm sure you guys are getting tired of the gag where I put "When did you get hot" in the background as it's a random scene of him, but I'm not stopping, okay? It's only gonna get worse from here. But yeah, why do I love Lenny? Well, it's funny because when I first ever watched the show, I honestly didn't care for him that much. Yes, I was a defender and I felt bad for him for sure, but otherwise, you know, he was definitely not near my top 5 characters. But now I can confidently say with my full chest that he has made a comfortable spot in my top 5 for sure. Now, what changed? I think I honestly can thank or blame, depending on how you see it, season 4 for that. There's a specific episode that we'll definitely talk about a lot later on, so stay tuned. But I also just from the start have always found Lenny to be a character that I admire because he's not conventionally attractive, you know? I think we can all agree on that. By first glance, I'm sure a lot of kids would not choose him to be any appealing character to the eye. However, damn it, I love him and he is appealing to my eyes. I like characters that aren't conventionally attractive. I like the character nobody likes. I like the character that's the loser in the group, that's always shoved in the background. I like the punching bag characters, which a lot of the time is to my detriment because they always end up dying. And please don't click off, I'm not getting off track here. It does have to do with the episode. Because in this episode, it shows that Lenny has always valued heart and kindness and hard work over everything else. And at the end of the day, love and personality always will matter more than appearance. So that's why I love his character. I feel like that perfectly encapsulates the message that they're trying to convey with his character. Please, I'm sure there's somebody out there that looks exactly like Lenny. Oh yeah.
And see
What's on the slab?
Anyways, this scene here that you're seeing unfold before your eyes is honestly one of the most peak scenes in the entire show. Is that glazing? Maybe a little, but it really does recontextualize the entire show. Because what do you mean Palladori's great-great-grandfather is the reason why Lenny is working for Alaric? And by the way, Alaric is slaying in his past outfit. Yes, king. Anyways, so Palladori's great-great-grandfather, which honestly looks way too similar to him. He literally is just him. I wish they did something to change his design at least a little bit, because throughout the episode, I thought this was Palladori until Oskar was like,
"Worked for Palladori's great-great-grandfather?"
Alright, can we make him look a little different? But anyways, that doesn't change the fact that this really recontextualizes everything we knew about the show. Because what do you mean? Like, Lenny would never know about the vampires and become a vampire himself and work for the vampires if it wasn't for a vampire hunter that's related to the one that's hunting them now. Like, that's crazy. Oh yeah, and I didn't even mention how much of a refresher this is. A good mouthwash to the bad taste in my mouth from the last episode. God, they went right back into the peak season 2 formula. And you know, I do want to mention the fact that I think it's really cool that even though the show is episodic, season 2 particularly has a more chronological feel to it, because they actually set up plot lines with episodes way before the episode comes. So, for example, throughout the season, we had been hearing bits and pieces about Lenny's story until we finally actually got the full episode. And they do this a lot with the episodes in this season, and I think that's really cool, because if you enjoy the show from an episodic standpoint, there you go, you can. But if you're like me and like chronological shows, you can also enjoy it in that sense, and I think that's really cool. They set it up in a way that it's episodic enough you don't have to watch it in order, but if you do happen to watch it in order, you'll be like, hey, that was being set up, that's really cool, or that was foreshadowing. So yeah, I just love the show, man. It's so good.
Has this anything to do with you?
Yeah, hear me out. There's something about the scene, okay? But seriously, there is something about the scene I want to point out, and it's the fact of the attention to detail they put into this, okay? Because all of the other vampires sleep in coffins, of course, but Lenny, he sleeps in a coffin on top of a human bed. Like, is that not just a great symbolism for him being half human and half vampire? Like, oh, this show, I love the details, it's so good. So yes, this is another Lenny episode. We are being fed, guys. What is this heaven I'm in? And again, it's such a peak episode, and this one generates some of his best moments ever.
Lenny, I'm not going to hurt you.
Like, is it just me, or is the way he's animated in this episode specifically so top tier? Just me? Okay, fine. I adore the plot of this episode because we get to see more of Missy, his pet sea monster, since before, well, we were too focused on making sure she doesn't get literally killed by a hunter. So now we can enjoy more of what she's like, and unfortunately, she's grown a little too attached to Lenny to the point she literally will start sobbing hysterically and screaming without him by her side. And I mean, totally valid, because I would be like that too with Lenny, but also, it's getting to a point where he literally can't do his job, and as a servant of the castle, we know that he needs to do his job. He needs to lock in. So it's causing a lot of problems. Chores are being piled up around the house. Nothing's getting clean. Vampires are not being able to do their usual schedule, all because this monster has separation anxiety and really, really, really wants Lenny to be by her side. And Lenny, being the sweetheart he is, he's annoyed by this, but also is a people pleaser and doesn't want to hurt her feelings. But like, he low-key gotta get to work. So he's just put in a very difficult position.
I can't leave her like this. Messy.
And I think something that really helps this episode feel more unique and stand out is the fact that Palladori's not in it, which, by the way, last night I had a dream about him hunting me. I've been editing this video for too long. Anyways, and I do not mean that as a diss to him. Some of the best episodes include him, and a lot of the time he is the highlight of what makes an episode funny. It's just, after a while, I feel like, you know, it's kind of getting predictable. Oh, he's infiltrating the castle. Oh, he's interrupting them. So it was really nice to just have a breather, even if it's just for one episode off, of just not having him around. And I'm fine with him being in the episode, but I would like for him to do something more unique in the episode. I feel like he just does the same thing. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was a good change of pace to, for once, not have him included. They realized the reason why Missy's acting like this is because she wants a mate. So Lychee has the brilliant idea of building a mechanical one, and it works for a bit, but of course, being in water and being technology don't really mix mix all that well, and in the end, unfortunately, that also doesn't work out. But don't worry, in the end, she befriends a bird, which let's just hope she's friends with it and not anything more, because
that would just be really complicated.
Oh yeah, and Missy purposely hurting herself just so he would come back and help her is diabolical.
No. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna stuff them.
Finally, we're at the Bruno-centered episode. I honestly thought this came way sooner in the series, like earlier in season 2, or maybe at the end of season 1, but regardless, we're finally here, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So, we briefly talked about him. He is this guy that has a southern accent, which I just love, and he's kind of,
1, 2, 3.
Huh? Hey, where'd those dang kids go?
Yeah, so Bruno is definitely not the sharpest tool in the shed, but that is what makes him such a treasure to watch on screen every single time. You never know what's going to come out of this guy's mouth, and he can say some genuinely shocking things, especially considering that this is a kid's show at the end of the day. Mainly the fact that his whole episode is centered around his determination to turn the bat versions of our main characters into taxidermies. Yeah. You heard that right. He's a taxidermist, which is a pretty wild plot for a kid's show, am I right? I mean, I really cannot imagine seeing an episode like this air anytime in recent years. Nowadays, kids are working with these shows that are overstimulating, but somehow also nothing is happening in them at the same time. I don't know how else to describe it, and if you've turned on a little flash of Disney Junior just to see what's going on, you'll probably get what I mean by that. But anyways, I also adore the aspect of this episode showing the character growth and development that we've seen over the past season. If you're watching the show chronologically, you'll be able to point at the screen and go, hey, Oskar learned how to use his shadow powers properly. Aren't we so proud of him? And you wouldn't really get that same feeling if you watched it out of order in more of a episodic sense, right? So I really love that they left little crumbs like that in the episodes for folks like me who want to watch it in chronological order, which I think most people probably watch shows in chronological order, but I don't know with these Sunday morning cartoons. Maybe people just click whatever random episode that comes up. Anyways, for the plot, basically the main cast snuck out to test out all the powers they've learned from school over the past year, but they banished Clot and Ashley from going because they feared it was too dangerous, which is definitely valid, but imagine if all along Clot could have been the one to actually scare Bruno. Oh wait. Overall, such a fun episode. I got so many vocal stims from this darn Bruno guy, and overall, it's so peak. I love the callbacks to the previous season. I feel like we really see how the characters have developed with each other. It's just great. It really is. Oh yeah, and Ashley's in it, which you know that means it's peak.
Bite freedom! Bite me, you little weirdo!
Got him! Got him!
To whoever that little girl was, you are such an icon and such a legend. Thank you for taking care of Stoker properly. Anyways, we have something very important to talk about. We are talking about my favorite episode of season 2, and one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. And luckily with this, I can safely say the fandom would back me up on this. I think that this is probably a majority of the fandom's favorite episode as well, or at least in the top 5. And that is because of one character in this episode. A character that deserved to be in multiple episodes and have much more screen time in the series. A character that, despite not having that much screen time, has millions of fan arts and cosplays made of him anyways. We are talking about the one, the only, drumroll please.
I'm Buck Toothsome, free-spirited vampire.
That's right, y'all. Buck Toothsome, the absolute legend, the diva, with the coolest design in the show and certainly the best expressions and animations. Now, I'm going to be honest, I absolutely hate the voice that they gave to him in the dub. His actual voice is so much more fitting for an exhausted teenage boy that's rebellious.
Eine Vampirschule? Dass ich nicht lache. So ein Quatsch. Ich setz mich doch nicht in ein langweiliges, muffiges Klassenzimmer.
Like, come on! Literally, nobody, not a single soul on this planet should like the dub voice better than that one. I'm sorry. Like, that is just so good. I love it. I love it. I love the way he chuckles when he says vampire qualifications. It's so much better than
vampire qualifications.
I'm sorry. I literally have to watch this episode in German every time. I can't take it. And again, this is not a criticism of the voice actor themselves. It's a criticism of their performance, okay? I honestly do think a lot of this probably goes to whatever dub casting director they had in the room that was not directing them properly. But, yeah, you can't tell me you look at that guy and assume you would sound like that. I don't think so. He's one of those characters that the entire fandom is in love with. Ride or die for him. If you told anyone in this fandom you disliked Buck, let's just say you shouldn't do that. And you should probably start running. Like now. But luckily, I don't think I've ever encountered a single soul who dislikes him yet, so I think my view on him being liked unanimously by the fandom is very factual. Anyways, so Buck is just one of those characters that are so freaking cool. You can't help but immediately be charmed by him by first watch because he's just got that charisma.
Excuse me while I ignore you.
There's so many characters just like Buck who are witty, charming, and just so admirable. By the first minute they're introduced on screen, you just have stars in your eyes. And you know, I just have so much immense respect for Buck as well because he stands on business. He has his morals, and although what he does is rebellious and against the rules, you can't help but respect and admire the reasons as to why he's protesting against the school system and vampire government as a whole. Like, if Buck is out there somewhere right now in real life, you know he's doing everything in his power, going to every protest possible. He would be constantly standing up for what's right in this horrible political climate we're in. He would hate billionaires so much, and I just love that. He's just such an awesome character, from his design to his personality, and I'm just so upset we never got to see him again after this episode, but we can let these guys return in multiple. Yeah, okay, I see how it is. And before you leave a long essay paragraph in the comments talking about how he's not coming back because he said he was leaving town. I know, okay? I know. I'm very aware of that. However, he could always come back and revisit the town, or the students could go somewhere else outside of town. I mean, come on! There's so much room here. We can make loopholes. So, with that said, I think it's easy to say that this is going straight to the peak tier. It is unanimously known to be peak. I am obligated to put it here because otherwise, it would not fit anywhere else. It's peak, Your Honor! And you know what? I'll even go as far as to say that Stoker wasn't as annoying in this episode. Yes, he was still annoying. He is Stoker after all, and I still hate him. But he was a little more tolerable, probably because Buck was the one setting him straight and telling him not to act so ridiculous. But he was still cringy and annoying, of course. But I did really admire the fact that he refused to bite Sunshine for Oscar's sake. I thought that was really sweet, and it really showed that Stoker deep down really does respect and love Oskar. And honestly, I think the reason why he always makes fun of him is because he's jealous of Oskar, because he kind of wants to be the Count's son, and he wants to be powerful, and he wants to be respected in the same way that he is. Oh yeah, and Lenny shows up in this episode, so you know it's peak. I have a short but hilarious story to share with you all. So last night, I was screen recording the intro part for the next episode we're going to talk about, naturally, because, you know, I put a little clip of the episode before we talk about it. And, well, I made the mistake of doing that while I was dozing off, and I was convinced I would be able to lock in, and I would be able to stop screen recording before I fell asleep. And that did not happen. So now, I have a 1 hour long screen recording of the entirety of Season 2 in my camera roll, and the only reason it wasn't longer than that is the fact that I woke up at 1 a.m. needing to pee, and thank God I did. It's like the gods knew that I needed to stop this recording. So yes, now it is a blessing in disguise because I don't have to screen record each episode. I can just go into this screen recording, but I just thought I'd share that, the fact that I have a 1 hour long screen recording in my camera roll now.
What a dump this place is. How long are we gonna be staying, Dad?
Ooh, this guy really needs a cough drop. Like, stat. Does anybody have a cough drop? Please. This episode's plot is so fun, hilarious, and honestly low-key kind of relatable because we all have those few relatives that visit who are just, well, if you know, you know. In this episode, Alaric's cousin visits the castle with his musty-ass son who has a musty-ass rat and has a gnarly case of RFK Jr. disease.
Ha! That second-rate nibbler.
Let's be for real, RFK Jr. probably did actually call someone that.
I'm honestly so shocked that Count Orlok is Alaric's cousin and not Oxblood's cousin, because I always thought he looked like Nosferatu, but apparently Alaric is actually related to Nosferatu all along, which just adds to his aura, and to be honest, this version of Nosferatu is nothing to write home about. Alaric is miles better.
Can I offer you a piece of our homemade blood sausage?
I like the store-bought stuff myself.
Orlok and his son Max definitely give the conservative, distant family members that you have to awkwardly spend time with at Thanksgiving, and you probably ask if you can be seated as far away from them as possible, and you even opt for the kids' table if that's what it takes to get away from them, because you know they're gonna bring up your pronouns, or who you're dating, or the dye in your hair. Is this too specific? Anyways, I don't know what is wrong with Gothetta's taste, because how do you go from having a crush on Oskar to finding this guy attractive? There's literally nothing about him that's appealing. Not his face, not his voice, and most definitely not his personality.
You were leading. You shouldn't lead. Boys lead, not girls.
Give him a couple of years and he'll be doing a podcast like all the other alpha males. I also have this constant thought in my head every time I watch this episode, or really just think of Max as a character in general, and I finally get to share it here. I hope I didn't already mention this in the essay, I don't remember. Anyways, I feel like Max and Buck's names should be swapped. Like, Max fits this guy better, don't you think? I don't know, he looks like a Max to me, and I feel like Buck makes way more sense for this strange SpongeBob x RFK love child. But anyways, this episode is so much fun, and I love the moral of respecting your elders and family members because, well, a lot of y'all could actually use that nowadays. Calling 25-year-olds unk. What is wrong with you? No, you're good, Oskar.
That bum? I told him to go stake himself.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said there were jokes in the show that would never slide nowadays. How did they get away with this? And Lenny's expressions in this episode are top tier.
Garlic buttered gravestones. Will you take those plugs out of your...
This episode is all about Alaric and Clot's dad's old man Yowie. And that's about it.
You're so
I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Did I get you? I'm sorry. Anyways, but yes, there is a lot of tension between him and Alaric for some reason. Maybe it's because they used to be classmates as kids, which, by the way, Alaric's eyes used to not be all red, so I guess maybe once he came of age they turned red, maybe when he hit puberty, maybe when he got a lot of power. I'm not sure what caused them to become red, because we know once he was an adult they were red for sure, but as a kid they were not red, so just an interesting thing I noticed. Anyways, these two have history. I feel like they may have
explored each other's bodies before. I don't know.
And the only reason I say this, and it's mostly a joke, but I'm also serious, is because it reminds me of that scene in Halloween Town. I don't know if y'all have ever watched that movie. There's a scene where Marnie's mom sees her ex after a long time, and there's just this awkward tension. There's just a vibe. If you've ever watched it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of how this episode feels. But what's the actual plot behind this episode? Well, right off the bat, I can safely say one thing. It's peak. And why? Because, say it with me, it has lore! Not only do we have a small glimpse into Alaric's childhood as previously established, but we also get to know more about Clot's family, which is super important because, well, throughout the show, you tend to wonder why they left their literal toddler that's still peeing himself at this boarding school. Did they really not want to take care of their child that much? But anyways, turns out it's because his dad is a worldwide famous piano player, so he's touring around the world and doesn't really have time to take care of him, and I guess his mom is also one as well.
Your dad's something else. You must take after your mother.
Oh, Mommy's way scarier than him.
So naturally, Clot is asked to play the piano to prove that he's just like his dad and make him proud, but there's one tiny little problem. Clot can't actually play piano for the life of him, so Oskar plans to help Clot out by making the piano rigged so it'll play itself. But Clot's dad catches him, and turns out there's a dark truth. Clot's dad also didn't know how to play piano as a kid, which is very nice for Clot's sake, but not for the people who paid money to see him perform live as a kid. But luckily, now he has the skills and actually can play piano, which helps Clot feel so much better about this whole thing. That means maybe one day he'll acquire the skills, but it doesn't come to him naturally.
Ingenious.
I must say, I personally love Clot's dad as a character. I think he's really cool and just has all sorts of aura to him, and his voice is kinda...
That's strange. You're out of voice tonight, darling.
But I do have to say, I'm a little concerned. Some alarm bells are going off in my head because why is Clot so terrified of his dad? Like, no one should be this scared of their dad. They're literally trembling and stumbling over their words and calling him sir. That's just a red flag to me. So as much as I love him as a character, I don't think he's a good dad. Anyways, this episode is peak. Obviously, we got lore, we got Lenny, we got yaoi. I mean, we've got everything.
The Count is an old school chum. I'll call him right away. Tell him I'm coming.
That's what she said.
You're so beautiful.
Thank you, darling. And your hairy legs are so cute. What?
Oh my god, this episode. The writing of this episode is fantastic, and it really stands out against the rest of the episodes in the series, but season 2 is just so peak, and this is honestly a big reason as to why. This episode was written in a way to make you confuse what was happening alongside Gothetta. So basically what's going on is Gothetta has a cold, so she's having fever dreams, and this whole episode really does feel like a fever dream. The way it's structured, the way the characters act, the way we're also just as confused and disoriented as Gothetta. I love when they do that with episodes where even us as viewers don't know what's going on. Sure, we can speculate and assume, oh, this must be a dream, or oh, maybe this is a flashback and Gothetta used to be human. We're not entirely sure what happens until in the end it's revealed. Even if you kind of had a sneaking suspicion that this was all just a fever-induced dream, it doesn't change the fact that it just feels so confusing. You really don't know what to believe at any point in this episode, and it's just so much fun. I really loved getting to see this alternate universe where Gothetta is a human, and I think this episode displays one of my favorite aspects of the show that we really lost in the last 2 seasons. We'll get there, trust. But there's this aspect of the show I love, and it's the attention to detail within even the colors of the characters. You see, the human characters are super bright and pastel. They're blinding. Look at these color palettes compared to the vampires. They're very hard to look at. They're very oversaturated, and as we see scenes of them interacting with the vampire castle, we can really see just how bright these characters are, and I love seeing that contrast between the vampires being so dark and, well, of course, gothic, versus these humans that are super pastel, saturated, bright, and even the actual way that they're drawn is more Pixar looking, versus the vampires who have a very specific art style to them. And just the fact that they chose Gothetta out of all of the cast to turn into a human temporarily, like, that is perfect for her character, considering out of everybody else, I think she's probably the one that hates humans the most, and maybe that's because of her animosity towards Sunshine and Oscar's overall fascination with humans. I'm not sure. Either way, throughout the series, she definitely shows a distaste towards humans, so I feel like out of everyone, Gothetta was definitely the most interesting choice to do this with, because I feel like some of the other characters might actually enjoy being human for a day, but she would rather do anything but that.
La Fifi.
Hello, sir. Well, Stoker was pursuing Clot, who was pursuing Oracula, who bumped into this armor, which fell onto a lever, which then opened onto a crypt.
Thank you, Leechy.
Right, this episode. Okay, so, remember that tier we made that we haven't used yet? Concept is good, but execution, remember that? Well, now we finally have a perfect episode that fits this tier extremely well. Honestly, that tier could have even been made for this episode, technically. So, this episode had all of the ingredients to be peak. It has lore, after all, lore! But there's something that makes the lore not feel as exciting or interesting, at least for me personally. And it is because this episode is structured to feature a trope that I've personally never really been a fan of. And what trope could that be, you ask? Unfortunately, I don't know the proper term for the trope, but basically, it's the trope of having a story told of a character or time period, and they're using visually the main characters that are telling the story for it. The easiest example I can give you of this trope would be shows like My Little Pony's Christmas Carol, which visually, the characters look like Starlight, Rainbow Dash, etc., but it's supposed to be different characters. Like, Starlight is supposed to be Snowfall Frost, she just looks like Starlight. And this is actually an example of the trope that I enjoy. I love that episode, it's one of my favorite episodes, and it's the only episode that's ever made me like Starlight Glimmer, so that's very big. big. Amphibia also kind of did this with their Halloween episode, except at least they were poking fun and aware that they were making up fictional stories of themselves. And I think the reason why I never liked this trope is because of the fact it always really confused me and frustrated me as a kid. I remember getting so confused if this was supposed to be the backstory of the character or this was supposed to just be them looking related to them. Like, it always just really confused me, and even now it is kind of confusing. I will say though, this episode is absolutely amazing regardless. I think it's such a fun episode, and the love story between the human and the vampire is so romantic and very necessary for Oskar's character, of course, because, well, this is finally his realization, wait a second, I'm not the first vampire to fall in love with a human. And the only thing that I feel like is super on the nose is the fact that they literally made the main character from the story afraid of blood just like Oskar. Like, did he have to be that similar to Oskar? I think Oskar would have related to him being in love with a human. We didn't have to add that part. And we literally a few episodes ago got an episode where Palidori's grandfather looked just like him. So to have another episode where Palidori is supposed to be a different person, but he doesn't look like a different person, it's getting tiring to say the least. But yeah, I think this episode is great, and I feel like I do more in what it could have been. It's already such a great episode, but imagine if they actually designed each character, because the one that Oscar's supposed to parallel, oh, fire, amazing, I love it, and I would have just loved to see what everybody else looks like. But yeah, don't let it being in a middle tier fool you. I think this episode is so fun, and I definitely do not skip this episode. I always get so invested within the lore. The story that Oxblood is telling is not only romantic, but has a lot of peril to it, and I can't help but imagine if they used Van Helsing instead of Palidori, because we've seen him a couple of times now, and I feel like it could have been good foreshadowing to this episode. Like, come on, it was all there. The seeds were planted. They just never were blossomed. Anyways, it sounded better in my head. I really love this episode, and, you know, it being in the middle tier is actually kind of good, because that means it has so much potential, and I see so much more that this episode could have been. And you know what? I will say Oskar looks adorable in this episode, regardless of how I feel about them using his likeness for the character. I think he's so cute. Some of his expressions are just absolutely downright adorable, and I still love seeing him in this role, even if it's not necessarily how I would personally go about writing the episode. Yes, that was the song you thought it was. I'm so sorry. I was trying to think what song would be funny to replace it with, okay?
Be precise, only until my trap is in place.
Right off the jump, I just have to say, the fact that the character in this episode is a troll and his name is Gristle? My fandoms are colliding in a very odd and technically improper way, but anyways. So, me and this episode have a very complicated relationship with each other because it reminds me a lot of how I feel about the werewolf episode. However, there's other little unrelated elements to that thing that just take away from it or make me not like it as much. So, first things first, what I did like about the episode is the moral. It's once again not to be racist, but this time towards trolls, and of course, no surprise to any of us, Stoker is the main one doing this.
This is your fault befriending an ogre!
Gristle is a troll!
I do think that the ending of this episode was handled better than the werewolf one, despite how much I love the werewolf episode. I feel like Stoker was let off the hook way too easily in that one, so I appreciate that they actually punished him for this behavior this time. So yeah, A+ for that. However, there are just so many other things about this episode I don't enjoy. It's not even really that part of it, though it can make me uncomfortable when Stoker keeps reiterating his hatred for these trolls, and the way that he says these things comes across as not only racism, but also kind of ableist too, saying that, and this isn't verbatim or anything, but he basically believes that trolls are unintelligent beings who deserve to live far away from everybody else in a ditch somewhere. And like I said, that's not word for word what he said, but that's a gist of what he believes for these creatures. So yeah, that's a little uncomfortable, but honestly, I feel more uncomfortable from the fact that Gristle has a crush on Gothetta. It's not explicitly said, but I think it's pretty clear what they were trying to do, and I get that that's kind of a common trope, like, oh, the monster falls in love with the girl, but Gothetta's a kid, so it just, I don't know, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm not necessarily saying this is problematic because we don't know how old Gristle is. He could actually be a baby troll for all we know. I don't know, but I just think that part of it was kind of unnecessary. We didn't really need that, and again, I guess it's not fully confirmed that he has a crush on her, but I mean, come on, he was introduced while Stoker and her were having a date, and it's just, the way he acts is very clear he has a crush on her, okay? And also, I mean, he literally broke into school while she was doing lessons. That's not good, and the way that the Count handled the situation was very professional, you know? He wasn't being rude to trolls as a race, he just was mad that he interrupted Gothetta's class, because, yeah, that's not good. This grown man, presumably, allegedly, is breaking into this class, wanting to take Gothetta away. It's just, yeah, the Count had every right to take him out of there. And honestly, none of this stuff is even the thing that really makes this episode a skip for me personally. It's actually the gross out humor. Now, growing up, I have never been a gross out humor person. I find it inappropriate, immature, and corny, personally. If you find those jokes funny, that's fine, that's your right, I respect your opinion, but I do not agree with it. I think that gross out humor is just, I don't know, it's not funny to me. It's just a bodily function we all have, and making jokes about it just doesn't make sense to me. Feel free to unsubscribe if you really don't enjoy my hot take, but that's my opinion. And that's honestly a big reason why I didn't grow up with Nickelodeon, because a lot of their shows had that humor, and it's not for me.
Definitely a no for me, dog.
So yeah, personally, I usually skip this episode unless I'm in the mood to watch it, so yeah, that's just how I personally feel. I do think that the episode has a good moral, and there are some really enjoyable parts, but the bad just kind of overlooks all the good, you know?
Variant Clot Crumples are my favorite.
Finally, my baby season 2 is taking W's again. I feel really bad for critiquing the last 2 episodes. I know no one's feelings are gonna be hurt, but I feel like I hurt the show's feelings. Call me a snowflake if you must. It's like when you have to punish your child and put them in timeout. It's like, I don't want to do it, but what you did was bad, so I need you to learn from it. Anyways, I mean, I feel like I was even pretty positive, even though I didn't feel very positive about the episodes. Anyways, what matters now, we're back in Peak Town, alright? We're back into it. And honestly, the main part of this episode is already hilarious enough, but my favorite part of the episode is actually the secondary plot, which is this, like, running gag that Alaric and the other teachers are at this convention together, and he keeps eating his favorite food, and he served it so much that it ends up not being his favorite food anymore. This episode includes the humans trying to infiltrate, but for once, it's finally not Palidori. Hallelujah! Oh my god. This episode introduces these funny real estate agents who want to buy out the castle, so he sends out his goofier worker to go and pretend to be a vampire and basically sign the deed, and all of this is happening, like I said, while the teachers are at a convention, so the kids don't really know how to handle the situation, but they handle it pretty well, and it's overall just such a funny episode. It honestly kind of feels like a season 3 episode as well, because season 3 includes a lot more human characters, and it has a little more of a goofier tone, which, don't get me wrong, the entire show is very goofy. There's not a lot of moments where it's super serious, but season 3 is like mostly goofy, so I always forget this isn't a season 3 episode, but to be fair, it's one of the last episodes of this season, so you can kind of feel the vibe shifting a bit, and that's okay. I love the vibe of this episode. It almost feels season 1-y as well. I don't know, it's a very fun episode. I don't want to give away too much of the plot because you gotta watch it for yourself. It's so funny, and I love the human characters. I find them so hilarious, and yeah, it's a great episode.
The castle is mine, and soon will be up.
I don't know why, but every time I watch this episode, I crack up at that part. I don't know.
Ashley's uncle Ern Aschenbecker is visiting the school tonight. Unfortunately, he shares Ashley's destiny.
Their hair is flowing in the wind. I'm sorry. Okay. Join me, get ready with me while I glaze this episode. But seriously, this episode has lore, and it's finally a freaking Ashley episode. I was literally just about to say with the last episode as I was talking about it, where the heck is Ashley? Like, maybe, yeah, he's in the background, but he has no speaking role at all, if he even shows up. So thank you, we finally got some Ashley food, and I'm sorry, that scene I just showed you, their hair flowing in the wind, are you kidding me? And what makes this just so absolutely peak is the fact that we get lore, but also the fact that we learn more about Ashley's family. Now, first of all, apparently, he's a rich kid, which in hindsight makes a lot of sense, because he was at that very fancy, rich ballroom dance. So, yeah, that makes a lot more sense that he's a rich kid. He just kind of acts like one. But also, we learn that their bloodline is cursed to turn into ash. Like, it is certain, it is written in the cards for you, you're gonna turn into ash if you're a part of this family, which is just so absolutely upsetting. Like, what do you mean that my boy Ashley is doomed to turn into ash? Like, say even if that night went differently, another night would have been the night that he was turned into ash. So regardless of if he went back and changed how it went, he would have turned to ash either way, and that just makes me so sad. And Ashley is a dancer. He is a very energetic guy. He likes to be silly. He likes to have fun. So out of all of the people to have this curse on their bloodline, it had to be Ashley. Like, it tears my heart apart, and somebody please make an angsty fanfiction about his overarching fear of death and turning to ash, because I imagine his dad probably warned him about this curse, right? So, like, imagine baby Ashley, young Ashley, his dad maybe is already ash by then, and he's like, son, one day you will be cursed to turn to ash. Now, the way it happens is not confirmed. It just will happen. That's the only thing that is certain. So then, he spends the rest of his life just being in absolute anxiety and fear, crippling within him that one day he's gonna become Ash. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter when, he just knows it's destined for him. One day, his love for dancing is gonna be taken away from him. And maybe he didn't even worry about it too much in his high school years, and then it happened. Right when he stopped being more worried about this. Even if it was a little fear that flashed in the back of his mind, he tried to ignore it. But the one night, the night he was getting all the ladies, that's the night it all happens. I don't know, maybe I should just write that fanfiction. Anyways, I love this episode. It's so fun and silly. There's definitely a lot of peril to it that makes me on the edge of my seat for so many different reasons. I am an Ashley defender and glazer down, and I'm just so happy we finally got an Ashley episode. Like, thank you so much.
Oh my god, Ashley, no!
Well, in a way, he'll do it all by himself.
Look at that adorable, smug little face. Oh, I love Oskar so much. Never change, Oskar. I love you. Actually, we're forcing you to change. That's the plot of this episode. So, they hire this doctor, which is very evidently voiced by Polidori's voice actor, bless his soul. He did his best. He really did. He did a good job voicing him. It's just, you can very much tell that it's the same guy. Anyways, basically, the doctor's job is to get rid of Oskar's fear of blood. And when I say he has a fear of blood, I mean a phobia. And turns out that the doctor himself also has an irrational fear for a vampire. He has a fear of spiders. And again, that's not very normal for vampires. Usually they love spiders. So this man is working so hard, tooth and nail, to get rid of this poor kid's phobia when he also has an irrational phobia that he can't get rid of. And in the end, no matter how many tests they do, no matter how much exposure therapy, they're not able to fix Oskar because there's nothing to fix. He is normal. Just because he has a phobia that is not the norm of a vampire does not make him any less capable of being a real vampire. And most people would say, so the episode just ends off with him not having any development, nothing changed. He doesn't have any character development. But in my opinion, it actually is the character development. And Lenny shows up so much in this episode. I love you, Lenny. We've gotten like 5 Lenny-centered episodes, and I still was craving him every time he was absent. I love you. I'm so happy you're here.
I say as if he can hear me.
Anyways, love the episode, and let's move on to the next.
Now, don't you worry, little kitties. Uncle Lenny's here to look after you.
He's already back. Maybe he did hear me after all. Sorry, I'm just being delusional. Anyways, this episode is so real, okay? I feel like we never talk about the fact that if you do not spay or neuter your cat, they breed like wildfire. Okay, that was kind of a wild note to start on, just right off the bat. Let me elaborate further with this clip of the episode.
Oh no, not again! They're breeding!
like mushrooms. I don't know what to do.
So Sunshine found these two adorable kittens, and unfortunately she cannot keep them because Polidori is severely allergic to cats, and honestly, even if he wasn't allergic, the home environment just isn't safe with all his wacky inventions in the basement. So while she's looking for someone to adopt them, she asks Oskar to watch them, which is kind of complicated because vampires are known to eat cats, but Oskar agrees and just secretly does it behind Alaric's back, and that's when Lenny discovers it. They make a pact not to say anything, and they leave them together overnight, and they start breeding. So this episode is something you wouldn't really expect, especially not from a show called School for Little Vampires, but I really appreciate it. Overall, love the moral of this episode. I think it's really important and educational.
Unless you want to see your little friends on the menu, I suggest you get them out of here now.
Sir, not in front of Oskar Jr. He's a little sensitive.
Yeah?
That boy has more issues than the vegetarian vampires of Vienna.
Yeah, so Ashley, I'm gonna be completely honest with you right now. I have no clue what any of those words you just said meant, but I love you, and I fully agree with you on all of it. So, guys, it is time for the legendary episode, my second favorite episode of this season, and honestly, one of my top favorite episodes of the entire series. It's definitely in the top 5 for me, and I think, luckily, the entire fandom could back me up on this. It's a great episode. The only thing I don't like about it is the ending, but we'll get to that when we get there. First things first, this episode is super special to me, not only because it's a great episode, but because I edited a scene from this episode, and it blew up on TikTok. It was my most viewed video I ever posted on there, and it's really funny because it's literally an edit I was procrastinating on making, and then I just kind of randomly posted it, not thinking much of it. I was like, I need something to post. Just post this old edit. I don't even know how to feel about it. And not only on TikTok, but also on YouTube, it did great within numbers. So thank you guys so much for that. I was actually introducing a lot of folks to the show through this edit, so it means a lot to me. I'm really happy I was able to get people to either be reminded of the nostalgia that this show gave them as they watched it as kids, or introduce it to a new audience, and I can safely say we've gotten some new members of the fandom thanks to that edit, which is an honor I really carry with my full chest. I wear it as a badge of honor, sir. I love it so much, and now that episode and edit mean a lot to me, and although I unfortunately had to delete my TikTok because TikTok decided to have horrible new guidelines that I do not stand with morally, but anyways, what is the actual episode about? Well, it's about the thing I think we've all been waiting for the entire show. Sunshine finally finds out that Oskar is a vampire, and through the most epic way possible. Like, they really killed it with this episode. They were eating a sandwich, he accidentally bit her, and she turns into Moonbeam. And what really breaks my heart about this episode is the fact that once she became a vampire, she didn't really like Oskar anymore. She was more like Stoker. She was more mean, more sassy, and honestly, I really love her as Moonbeam. I love seeing her in this more negative light. It's just really cool getting to see her be all mean and rude. As much as it really hurts my heart for her to be mean to Oskar, I love the angst. I live for the angst, okay? This episode is the introduction of this idea, and, you know, we all assume, oh, well, Stoker just likes her because she's a vampire now, and he likes her personality. But there's multiple episodes after this point where they also do, like, a very shippy thing with them. Again, albeit they have a potion on them, or there's some deeper reason why Stoker's in love with her. But I just feel like the more that they paired her up with Stoker, the more I really enjoyed this ship, and it's not too bad, actually. I also think it's just kind of juicy and, like, drama, because what do you mean Stoker's hated on Sunshine this whole time, and then he ends up falling in love with her? It's enemies to lovers. It's him falling in love with his enemy's girlfriend. Like, that's tea, you know? There's a lot of things that could come from that. A lot of angst, a lot of gossip, a lot of drama, and I live for the drama. But anyways, the only thing holding this episode back is the ending. Unfortunately, they do turn Sunshine back, which isn't even really the problem. I figured that was gonna happen. But it's the fact that she didn't remember anything in the end. She doesn't even remember Oscar's a vampire, and in my opinion, they really should have done that, because this is the second to last episode, which in my opinion should have been the finale. They should have reordered the episodes for sure. This feels way more epic for a finale than the finale episode. I just feel it was the perfect opportunity to change change a little bit the pace of the series because, you know, usually with kids shows, the first few seasons follow the same similar format, and then they kind of change it up in the middle. That way it doesn't get repetitive. Owl House did this, Amphibia did this, a lot of shows did this. Even My Little Pony did this. They added the school, and whether you like the change or not, some people absolutely hate the switch-ups in all three of those shows I mentioned. I do think it's very necessary for the longevity of the show. It's either you change it up so people don't get bored, or you end the show. Now, don't get me wrong, season 3 and 4 definitely have a lot of changes to them. They did change the format in some ways, but I think that would have been a really positive story narration to change, because in season 3 and 4, Polidori and Sunshine don't show up that much, but when they do, it's pretty much the same thing as usual. Sunshine's like, oh, Grandpa, stop doing that. He tries to break into the castle. It gets really repetitive after a while. The first 2 seasons, oh, it's great. They find a way to shake it up. But in the next 2 seasons, it's like, okay, we get the point. When is this guy gonna give up on it? So imagine how much more interesting it would be if Sunshine now was helping Oskar also and wanted to learn more about the vampires while also having to keep the secret of the vampires away from her grandfather. And I feel like that just has so much room for so much story. Like, it could really tear Sunshine apart because it's stressful having to lie to her grandfather whilst also being loyal to her boyfriend. Like, isn't that just perfect? That would be so peak. So I guess in the end, the criticism of this episode isn't exactly what it is, it's what it could be. It could have had even more potential to just be the peakest of peak. And I, like I said, need to move this episode to be the finale. Like, I genuinely try to purposely watch the other one before this one, because the next episode we'll talk about just isn't giving finale at all versus this one. So yeah, in my perfect world, this is how I imagine it would go. This would be the finale episode right before season 3, and in the end, Sunshine does turn back to Sunshine. However, she still remembers when Oskar bit her, and maybe she doesn't even think about him being a vampire at first, and then starts to slowly collect the realization that he's a vampire. And that realization could happen within this episode, or it could be the first episode of season 3. Regardless, I think it would be just so interesting, a great change of pace, and I'm just sad that they didn't commit to it. I just don't like when shows are too scared to change things because it's too different, and I feel like this was just the best decision they could have made, and it was really a missed opportunity. But anyways, aside from that, this episode is amazing. I absolutely love this episode, and I enjoy watching it every single time. I've definitely rewatched this one kind of the most out of all of the episodes in the series, besides my other favorites, of course. And yeah, it's a great episode. Now it's time for the season 2 finale, which I feel like this episode should have been that, but anyway.
Polidori, I bet he's up to no good.
Oh man, the voice acting was getting a little bit better, but towards the end they really just said F it, we're just not even gonna try anymore. Luckily, season 3 definitely has the best dub out of all of them, which is saying a lot because it's still not great. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the finale episode, which we're gonna pretend isn't the finale because I can't really describe it any other way. I feel like this episode should have came way earlier in the season. Like, the way Oskar and Stoker are fighting feels way more like beginning of the season 2, not the ending. Like, Stoker throughout the season would definitely treat Oskar like this at any given time. But Oscar's had a lot of development in the way that he kind of just brushes Stoker off now whenever he says something mean. Season 2, beginning Oskar would definitely do the stuff he does in this episode, but not ending Oskar, you know what I mean? It feels almost like we're reverting back to not having as much development. So yeah, that's kind of what takes away from this episode, and no, it is not a bad episode by any means. It's just, compared to the peak one we just had, it's pale in comparison. But you know what really makes up for it is Lady Cryptina in this episode, because woo-wee! She's looking fine as heck. I love her. She's so beautiful, and we do get a glimpse of Cryptina and Polidori. I don't really like how it was done in this episode compared to the first time, and you know, like I said earlier, I don't even ship it, but at least I could find some fascination in it. Now, I just feel like it's too, like, cliche. Oh, he's in love with her because ooga googa.
She's got boobs and curves.
You know? So, I definitely prefer the original example of them being together, but in the end, they aren't together, so I'm really happy about that, honestly. If we're gonna put Cryptina with someone, it should definitely be Alaric or someone like that, but I'm happy that Cryptina is just not given a love interest, because not every woman needs to be the love interest to somebody else, and I love that they didn't do that with her character. Anyways, girl bossing Cryptina we love to see it. I also love the way they explained how vampires feel about mosquitoes, because if you think about it, it's the ultimate snack for them. They get to eat bugs, and bugs with blood inside of them. That's like a gusher for them. So I think that's pretty cool and creative. And otherwise, it's just a camping episode where Stoker and Oskar are being absolutely ridiculous and fighting like little boys, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty good episode, but definitely not as good as the last one, because especially considering it's a finale episode. Alright everybody, take a look at the season 1 and season 2 episodes. As you could probably tell, I wasn't showing where I was ranking episodes anymore because I realized I kind of like to switch around the placements of the episodes once I do this. So for the next part, I'm probably just not going to do that and just wait until the end of the season to show you the progress of the tier list, if that makes any sense to you guys at all. So yeah, as I just mentioned, you're probably wondering, you're looking down at the time bar, you're like, dude, there's no way you're going to be able to talk about season 4 and 3 all within this short amount of time. Well, yes, you'd be correct. As I just previously mentioned, I am going to be splitting this video up into 2 parts. I don't usually like to do this with my videos. However, I did not intend for this video to be so long. I seriously thought that the hour-long mark would be from me ranking every single episode from every single season. But no, it's already taken me almost 2 hours just to talk about the first 2 seasons. And I felt like season 3 and 4 have a very different vibe from the first 2 seasons, so it kind of feels right to put it in different parts, right? So I'm very sorry for the cliffhanger, but I want to be able to build up hype to that video, and I'm going to start working on it as soon as I'm done with this one. And I'm also low-key too excited to get this video out. Like, I've been working on it for months, and I'm so excited to finally have it be public. I love the show so much, and I already knew how much I loved the show, but after going into each episode detail by detail, dissecting it, really looking into the meat of the episodes and realizing what morals they had for kids, did they even have a lesson for kids? And I feel like that's just really important and a testament to how much I love the show, because sometimes when I overanalyze stuff so much, I don't even enjoy it anymore, but this has made me come to appreciate the show even more than I already did for my video essay. So yeah, safe to say, School for Little Vampires content is not dying anytime soon on this channel. Obviously, we got part 2 of the tier list, and then after that, I really want to do the voice actor comparison thing I teased earlier. So yeah, if you made it all the way to this point in the video, thank you so insanely much. Like, I really wish I could hug you right now. If you made it this far in the video, please comment I usually go with the rose, so we'll go with the rose again. It works pretty well. So please comment a rose emoji if you made it this far into the video. It seriously means so much to me. I spent way too long making this video, and the fact that you actually stayed until the end, you're a champion. You're a legend for that. So thank you so much. It really means everything to me. I will see you guys in the next video. Eat, sleep, and drink as much as you possibly can. You have made it all the way to April and now May. You are doing so well, and I hope we can get through May together. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Sleeping in coffins, we party all night, and just after sunset we go for a ride. We may have never seen the sun, but hey, we're still having fun. It's so much fun just to be a vampire. It's so much fun just to ride through the night. It's so much fun just to be a vampire. You should stand Lenny. We're gonna buy it, Stan Ashley. We're gonna buy Stan Lenny.